Hello and welcome to the Fiduciary Voices FinLit series, where we are speaking with a number of fiduciary advisors to get their insights on personal financial planning, tax, and investment matters. The goal is to provide helpful information for people as they think about their big dreams and goals in life: buying a car, buying a home, starting a business, building a career, putting children through college, making work optional, living well in retirement. Money touches all of those concerns and opportunities. So we've invited some financial advisors we know and trust to provide quick tips and information on these important topics. And now, here's your FinLit host to introduce today's topic and special guest.
Hi everyone, welcome to our Summer FinLit series. Today we are joined by Amanda Monschein, a financial planner with Stratus Wealth Advisors, and we're so happy to have you here. Amanda, thanks for joining us as we talk a little bit about vacation planning and budgeting and maybe some other financial tips.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Welcome. So before we get started on the money stuff, which is of course what we always like to talk about in this series, we want to talk a little bit about the fun vacation side as we head into summer. And would like to just ask you to start off, if you could share with us one of your favorite vacation experiences, or maybe a trip that you planned and was executed well, where you may have had a budget that you were able to, actualize this trip on a budget.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think I'd probably have to go back and talk about my honeymoon, which was many years ago, but it was executed wonderfully. My husband and I were recently out of college, so we didn't have a huge income. So we definitely had to create a spending plan before we went. And I prefer to use the word spending plan to budget because I find that a lot of people find the word budget very restrictive and they're scared of it. And so a spending plan seems a little more accessible to everyone because you're going to be spending when you're on a trip. So you might as well plan for it, just as in most things in life. So for our honeymoon, we researched destinations, got, approximate costs of flights to the destinations, hotels, food, everything like that ahead of time. We made our ideal plan of everything that we wanted to do once we found a destination. We prioritized the things as must-dos, have to do this, want to do this, and then if money allows. So we did priority of our favorite things to do, and we really kind of made a savings account that we started spending for as soon as we got engaged. So we started saving for this trip about a year before it happened. One trick we did was that each of us only had one credit card at that time. So we both got new 0 interest, 0 annual fee credit cards from an airline agency that allowed us to fly first class. And we made a budget for food, made a budget for hotel, budget for recreational activities, and we stuck to it and felt really good. And it really, that planning of our spending really allowed us to come home feeling like we've got this. We can, we don't make a ton of money right now, but when our salaries increase and we have kids, we're going to be able to do this because we had a plan ahead of time.
Great. Can I ask where you decided to go on that trip?
Yeah, so we went to Maui and the Big Island of Hawaii, but first we stopped in LA to be on The Price is Right. And that was something that I had wanted to do since I was a kid, was to be on The Price is Right with Bob Barker.
That's so great.
So we stopped there for a day, flew to Maui, and then flew to the Big Island, and then flew back to the DC area where we live.
That's so fantastic. It's so funny. I have to say, with The Price is Right, I lit up like a Christmas tree because I used to skip school just so I could watch Price is Right. It was my dream to get on that show. And I went and I won a Mini Cooper that I'm still driving.
Oh my God, really? Oh my gosh, we didn't even get called. We had great t-shirts that said we want to spend our honeymoon with Bob Barker. Weren't even called.
Maybe it was Bob.
It's really awesome that you won a Mini Cooper. Do you still have it?
I do. It's sitting outside in the driveway. I love it. I never thought in a million years, but I mean,
that is really funny.
So when you say Price is Right, I think, oh, you're speaking to my heart right there. But when you say Hawaii, you're also speaking to my heart. I love
it was wonderful.
Maui, and the fact that you were able to do Hawaii on your spending plan. What were some of your favorite highlights? And especially in light of, everybody thinks Hawaii can be expensive, but how you can still have an amazing experience without breaking the bank.
Yeah, so one really important thing is to realize that when you're traveling, eating out is one of your largest expenses. And so if you find a condo to rent, or now Airbnb, VRBO, if it's a little more than your hotel room might be, you're actually going to save a little bit of money by having the ability to go grocery shopping and have your breakfast and lunch at a minimum prepared in your condo. So that's a huge savings, is to be able to be somewhere where you have access to at least a microwave, but a stove and a refrigerator too.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what were some of your favorite activities and things that you were able to experience?
We went to a traditional luau in Maui. We got to go to the volcanoes on the Big Island, which was unbelievable, and a lot of relaxation. Honestly, it was, obviously preparation for a wedding and everything is a lot, and so being able to relax and knowing that we were covered and we weren't going to come home to debt was a very, very important thing for me personally,
Mhm.
because it led us to be able to actually relax. If I was worried about money, if I was worried about should we go to dinner, should we not, we didn't have any kind of plan in place, I would have had a lot of anxiety and it wouldn't have been as enjoyable.
Yeah, that's great. So, can I ask you a personal question with your
Sure.
travel style now? I mean, things have changed a lot since college, but you
Yes.
probably have very similar habits still. How do you like to travel now? And do you still save up and create a spending plan for your trips?
Yeah, so we definitely do. When my husband and I travel without our kids, we almost always go to all inclusive resorts because of the psychological benefit of not having to worry about spending. When we travel with our kids, it's a completely different story. We usually have a destination with a lot of activities, amusement parks, tours of historical monuments, all kinds of different things like that. And so we kind of categorize them, and then we sit down as a family and talk about what is the most important thing for us to do on this trip? What means the most to you? Everybody picks their favorite thing, and we try to make that happen. Advanced planning, looking for coupons and looking for deals online, comparing prices for rental cars. I find that Costco is a great place to book a rental car online, even if you don't have a Costco near you. That's where we almost always book our rental cars from. Yeah, so just knowing ahead of time what you're going into. I think that everything in life is about managing expectations. So if you go into a trip with expectations about what you can do, what you can't do, the kids know ahead of time, you know ahead of time, then you're kind of good to go and everyone's expectations are met.
That's wonderful. And you include them in the planning and asking them what's important, which keeps
Absolutely.
them
It's
engaged.
crucial for success.
Yes. I love all of these tips so much. And you mentioned something earlier about the budget as opposed to a spending plan. And I know that as we were talking before this conversation, we had our own, that budgeting is something that you're really actually passionate about, or creating a spending plan. And I would love for you to just expound on that a little bit if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Yeah. So, the reason I prefer spending plan is just because the terminology is more appealing to most of our clients, most people in general. Budget sounds very constricting, sometimes overly complex, and it's not exactly what people are looking to do in their life. Is I really want to budget myself, right? The whole word has restrictions to it.
Mhm.
But knowing that you have an income, knowing you have upcoming expenses and planning for them is really a spending plan, and your entire life can be a spending plan. Um, Specifically, what we were just talking about was vacations, and planning for them. However, you can have a spending plan for each month of the year. You can have one for the total year itself, and then you can have a spending plan all the way until retirement that helps you to meet your goals for what you want to see when you retire. We work with individuals all the way from their late 20s until their late 70s to help figure out how to spend their money appropriately and reach their goals. And really looking at all these things ahead of time helps a lot. Um, One thing that I've noticed a lot is that people tend to avoid the whole process of planning their spending because they don't really want to look at what their spending is currently. That is a huge, huge reason that a lot of people don't even want to embark on this process. They think it's overly complex, but they also don't really want to see the reality of what they're spending their money on. To that, I would say that knowledge is power. You would be most people would be very surprised by the amount of money that they're spending on very little things every day or every week that really add up over the course of a year. And then if you take that total savings from specific things 10 years out, there we go. There's 2 more vacations for you, or there's, $500 extra you can spend per month on your mortgage. There's some very easy apps and websites that are free or relatively inexpensive where people can do this themselves. Basically, you connect your bank and your credit cards to one of these apps. They pull in all of your income, all your transactions in your checking account and your credit card, and you will have the ability to not only see them all, but categorize them. So you can look month over month at what is my Starbucks spending every single month and what is it per year. That's a really common one that we see, that people are absolutely floored that they're spending over $1,000 a year on their coffee. Huge savings. Subscriptions is another thing that we see a lot. People sign up for free subscriptions for all sorts of things. Most recently it's streaming services, but it can be video game apps, all sorts of things. And they don't realize they didn't cancel them. And so when they see them all in an entire month and then an entire year categorized by subscriptions and see the total amount they're spending on subscriptions per year, it's a really big wake-up call. And so I think that seeing your spending, especially with the small things, allows you to make really small changes in your life that may not even impact your day-to-day. It might not change your day-to-day at all by canceling the subscription to several of your streaming services that you're not using. But it could have several $100s a year impact on you and thousands over the years.
It's so true. I noticed when I do my American Express year-end statement, and I'm just gobsmacked at what I spent on some of these things that, like you said, they don't affect your daily bottom dollar, but I could have had a vacation with all that, Starbucks spending or whatever coffee shop of choice. But
and I would say that most people who do not track all of their expenditures by category each month are going to be shocked with some of their spending. And that's a big reason for avoidance. People don't want to see how much they're spending on these little things, but it also opens your eyes and allows you to make changes that are going to set you up for future financial wellness.
It is. It's confronting. And it's a little bit of a tough pill to swallow when you see how much you're spending. But then there's also that side that you don't want to give up those things. So recently, I know personally, I've kind of treated like my monthly spending on how I would clean out my closet, put something on a certain hanger. And if it's still hanging there after a month or two, time to get rid of it. You're not using your Audible, account. You're not using these things. So
exactly.
Good self-inventory.
And when you look at your credit card statements, you can easily see, I spent, $7.99 on my Audible subscription this month. Not a big deal. But then when you see it combined with every subscription and you see, I'm not using half of these, the total combined savings you can have in a year is often breathtaking from very small expenditures. People generally know what their large expenditures are, right? They know what their mortgage is. They know what their car payments are. They know what the private school tuition or college tuition is. But these little things really do add up and can make a really big difference over time.
They do. And, you mentioned that there are a lot of free resources and apps that allow you to create spending plans and help you track some of these.
Yeah.
Can you provide some of those to our audience?
Sure. So my favorite free app is probably mint.com. It is completely free and it allows you to link up all of your accounts into one place, categorize your transactions, easily print reports. This is something that non-financial people can do very easily with basic knowledge of the internet and a computer. Quicken is a product that's subscription based. It's one of the oldest income and expense trackers that there is. It's very, very simple and easy. It also doesn't have any good bells and whistles, but they have a new version called Quicken Simplify that's exclusively online and is a little bit more interesting for younger people to use. There's something called rightcapital.com, which is also free for the initial services, but I think that you can add on extra subscriptions for credit monitoring and things like that. That's a really popular one. I've used that myself, and I think that it's very effective. It's kind of amazing, actually, what's available for free to do all of this work, because it seems like it's something that in the past would be very expensive to have someone do for you.
Right. And we have all these, free resources at our fingertips, and we're just not, a lot of us aren't utilizing them as we should. And then I noticed on your own website, you have some resources there. Would you like to just provide that as well?
Yes. So stratuswealthadvisors.com. So that's Stratus, Stratus, wealth, and then advisors with an O, not an E. We have a lot of resources on there, videos about things that we present on to many of our clients. And, you can feel free to contact us anytime about our primary business is business valuations and succession planning, but we also work a lot with individuals just on their own spending plans and give financial advice. So
great. Thank you so much. This has been such a wealth of knowledge, and I've just enjoyed talking to you so much. Thanks for joining us. And thanks everyone for tuning in.
That's it for today. Follow the hashtag FinLit on Facebook, X, and LinkedIn for more great Fiduciary Voices insights. And visit fiduciaryvoices.com to access additional resources.